So it is 3 o'clock, and I know not everybody is with us, but I think we will get started only because we want to be mindful of everybody's time and get right into it about magnesium and the immune system. So this is a topic that I love because magnesium is not commonly discussed as an immune supplement. We hear a lot of immune supplements out there, and there are so many great things to boost the immune system, but magnesium is not talked about. Now, the reason I believe this is because it's not the kind of nutrient or supplement you would take in high amounts to chase out a virus. Magnesium is an important baseline mineral for the immune system to make sure it functions. So of course, if you're sick, it doesn't hurt to take a bit of extra magnesium. You wouldn't want to take too much extra magnesium because your body can only use so much at once. But it really makes a difference if you have optimal magnesium levels and you encounter a virus versus if you have low magnesium levels and you encounter a virus. So rather than saying, oh, I feel a cold coming on, I got a dose with selenium and vitamin C and vitamin D and olive leaf and echinacea and all these things, magnesium is just something that we should be taking every day, all the time, but especially in cold and flu season to strengthen our immunity. So I'm going to start our presentation and just share my screen here with you for 1 minute. I think everybody can see my screen now. And Liz, can I just get a confirmation that you can see these slides? We're gonna say yes. I'm not seeing any confirmation, but I'm gonna just go ahead with it. And if there's any maydays, then somebody can go ahead and tell me. Okay, so magnesium, a simple way to boost immunity. So the first reason why magnesium helps boost your immunity is because it strengthens your immune system. So magnesium is a key player in the immune system because it is an immune system modulator. So it increases the activity involved in the formation of antibodies. So as we know, antibodies help in the immune response for killing viruses and bacteria. It makes cells more active, and it helps protect themselves from microbial, bacterial, and viral attacks, which is all what we would encounter, or one of those. It's thought that magnesium allows our immune system to seek out the virally infected cells and cancerous cells even, and encourage something called apoptosis, which is cell death. So we want the viral cells to die, the virally infected cells to die, and magnesium helps our immune system find those cells. The intracellular free magnesium encourages our natural killer cells to kill those virally infected cells and target them for destruction. And it has been studied, or magnesium deficient animals and humans have been proven in studies that if they are deficient in magnesium, they have depressed immune responses. And of course, you can imagine when magnesium was supplemented in these control groups, the immunodeficiency changes. So bottom line, magnesium supplementation is proven to help the immune response. So overall, because it helps with antibody creation, helps seek out infected cells, it helps strengthen the immune system. Another thing that magnesium can do is help reduce stress and anxiety. So people experiencing stress automatically have lower magnesium levels, and that's because stress is harder to handle when your magnesium is low, and when you have high stress, more magnesium is used up by your body. So therefore, when you experience stress, you're using more magnesium. So the immune system's ability to fight off antigens is reduced when we are stressed. So that's what makes us more susceptible to infections when we're stressed. So we have some stress hormones such as cortisol. When it's high, it can suppress the whole effectiveness of the immune system because it lowers the number of white blood cells that we need to fight infections. As mentioned, people under stress have lower magnesium levels because magnesium is required to handle stress. And magnesium also blocks the action of the stress hormone adrenaline, and it calms people with anxiety. It stimulates GABA receptors in the brain, which has an overall calming effect. And magnesium has such a strong calming reduction of stress and anxiety that some MDs refer to magnesium as nature's natural relaxant. Nature's calming mineral, because it calms the body and the mind. So we know that when we can deal with our stress better, our immune system can respond better. And in the same token, when it comes to sleep, we need to have stress that's managed so that we can get in a good sleep. So we know that overnight, the immune system kind of wakes up and gets activated to create the cells that it needs to help support us to kill off any infections, which brings me to my next point, that magnesium aids in restful sleep. So when you sleep, your immune system awakens. And studies have shown that people who don't get quality sleep or don't get adequate hours of sleep, so there is a difference, you could be in bed for 8 or 9 hours but not be getting good deep sleep, are more likely to get sick if they've been exposed to a virus, such as a flu virus. So that's very important information for us, that sleep is essential for the immune system. Lack of sleep also negatively impacts how quickly you recover from an illness if you do fall ill. So severity and longevity of illness are both affected by our sleep, and magnesium really aids in restful sleep. So magnesium helps shut down our central nervous system, and when you're sleeping, your immune system will release these protective immune proteins called cytokines, and certain cytokines need to increase when you have an inflammation or an infection, or when you're under stress. So sleep deprivation can increase the production, sleep deprivation might decrease the production of these protective cytokines. It may decrease antibodies in your system, and when you're not well rested, the bottom line is you are more susceptible to getting a cold, a flu, or any other infections. So magnesium promotes better lung health, and this is something that not a lot of people know, but high magnesium intake is associated with reduced risk of airway hyperreactivity and wheezing. So we know there are a lot of viruses out there, colds out there, that can affect our breathing. Of course, the big C word, the pandemic we're dealing with, COVID-19, we know that the lungs can be affected, and magnesium is helpful to reduce that wheezing. So it opens up the bronchial airways, it reduces hyperactivity, and it makes absolute perfect sense when you think about the fact that magnesium is a really good muscle relaxant. So magnesium, one of its main things to do in the body is relax muscles. So you think about all these things in our lung, and it's helping relax them to keep them open. So there are studies that prove that would say magnesium is beneficial for the treatment of lung-related diseases, such as asthma, pneumonia, and this is because of its anti-inflammation, antioxidation, and bronchial smooth muscle relaxation. So bottom line, any lung problem, magnesium supplementation is a must. So number 5, magnesium activates vitamin D to make it available to the immune system. So without magnesium, vitamin D actually remains inactive, making it ineffective and potentially unsafe to the body. So if we're supplementing with vitamin D, but we're not activating it because we don't have enough magnesium, it's really no different than not supplementing with it at all, and can even be worse if we're getting too much vitamin D and not enough of the cofactors that vitamin D needs for proper activation in the body. There was a study that was done in the American Journal of Osteopathic Medicine that estimated that 50%, so 50% of Americans actually have adequate vitamin D, but they lack the magnesium to utilize it. And that's a really staggering statistic, because in climates such as Canada, the US, UK, Ireland, all of these, you know, far above the equator or far below the equator, we hear vitamin D is a very important nutrient and a very, very deficient nutrient. But this study was saying that it's actually not that we're as deficient in vitamin D as we think, even though it's important to take, but we need the magnesium. So vitamin D is a little bit complicated. When we get vitamin D, our body has to convert it into the active hormone form, which is called calcitriol. And all of the enzymatic functions to help convert vitamin D into its active form for the body to use are magnesium dependent. So a general rule of thumb is that for every 1,000 units of vitamin D, you need 100 milligrams of magnesium to help the body actually utilize it. And we will get into this a little bit later, but a key takeaway from this as well is that you need a well-absorbed magnesium. There are a lot of cheap forms of magnesium that do not do the trick out there, and if you're not absorbing the magnesium well, then your body will not be able to activate the vitamin D for use. So lastly, magnesium is important for the immune system because it can help protect organs and tissues from damage caused by viruses. And this is especially important in today's pandemic world, as well as we hear too many stories of COVID affecting people long term. We have these long COVID cases. We have people that recover from COVID, but they're left with heart problems, lung problems, kidney problems, because the virus actually attacks organs. And this is scientifically proven. I have all my references at the bottom of the screen here, that magnesium can help that. So magnesium supplementation protects organs and tissues from damage, and it's considered through multiple mechanisms, including anti-inflammation, antioxidation, and immune regulation. So this study actually specifically looked at COVID-19. And one of the conclusions of this study was that magnesium is one effective strategy to fight against COVID-19. And this is stated in the study because it can relieve lung symptoms, it can protect the nervous system, it can improve cardiovascular function, it can help liver and kidney injury, it can control blood glucose level by the inhibition of inflammation, it helps oxidative stress and smooth muscle contraction. So there is a lot that magnesium does that is important for the body when we consider immune health and viruses. So magnesium, you'll hear me always talk about what an essential mineral it is, and that is because magnesium is needed for 80% of enzymatic processes in your body. And that translates to about 1,000 processes. So there are 1,000 things in your body that are magnesium dependent. So if you're deficient in magnesium, that number will reduce, that there are some things that the body cannot do because it does not have enough magnesium. So some magnesium deficiency symptoms, we have muscle cramps or pains, restless legs, stress or anxiety, insomnia or poor bone health, insomnia or restless sleep, I'm getting ahead of myself, poor bone health, hormonal issues, blood pressure issues, trouble focusing, low energy, and heart issues. And these are only a few of the symptoms that you can get when you're magnesium deficient. Now, magnesium is difficult to test because we have a lot of magnesium in our body, but less than 1% of all the magnesium found in our body is in our blood. So if you're going to your doctor to do a blood test, it will not be accurate of the actual magnesium level in your body. It will only be accurate of the magnesium level in your blood, which, given that only, not even 1% of all the magnesium in your body is in your blood, you will almost always have proper magnesium levels unless you're facing a health crisis. So because of this, when we consider magnesium deficiency, the best and most accurate way to look at if we think we're deficient is by these symptoms. Muscle cramps and restless legs are very common. Sleep problems, stress, anxiety, they're very common. And of course, blood pressure, heart issues, a lot of these are very common symptoms. And it could be something else going on in the body, but generally, if you have one overarching symptom or you have a few, we recommend that you try supplementing with magnesium. And if you're supplementing with a well-absorbed magnesium, you should notice these symptoms start to disappear. And that would show that you were magnesium deficient. So magnesium, why it's deficient in so many people? It's difficult to get from food. So we have less magnesium in our soil if we test it compared to 50 years ago. Food processing can seriously deplete magnesium, and not preparing food properly, which we will get into in a little bit, can help deplete or will deplete magnesium in the body. And because we're always in a hurry to get quick food and in our fast-paced lifestyle, and because having a fast-paced lifestyle will cause magnesium to be used up in our body faster, it is very common for the world to be facing magnesium deficiency, with some estimates at 80% of the global population being deficient. So what can cause low magnesium in the body? So as I mentioned, soil depletion, poor food choices. So, if we're getting processed foods, packaged foods, magnesium will not be in a processed food like it would be if you didn't process that food. Improper food preparation, this is a really important one because years ago, if you look at traditional ways of preparing food, that was partly because it helped us absorb the nutrients in food. So if you have things like whole grains, nuts and seeds, leafy greens, and you're not preparing them in the right way, you're not soaking them, you're not cooking them with certain things, then what can happen is you can have a high amount of something called oxalates in that food. And oxalates, in order to get out of the body, they will bind to magnesium. So you might be eating, let's say, a lot of raw kale, high in magnesium, but that raw kale is also high in oxalates. So the oxalates need to come out of your body, so they bind to that magnesium in the kale, and then you didn't get any of that magnesium. Now, that's not to say you should never eat raw kale, but there are lots of different ways of preparing food that can help us get the proper magnesium level, like cooking it or soaking grains, nuts, seeds, so that we can reduce these oxalates. And we have a great article on our website at itlhealth.com. If you're interested in learning more about oxalates, just head to our article section and search the word oxalates. So other things that we make poor choices about in our life that can deplete magnesium: alcohol intake to process alcohol needs magnesium. Sugar intake to process sugar needs magnesium. Even if we have a high level of physical activity, we are using more energy in our body, we're using our muscles more, and that requires more magnesium. Certain medications will impair our absorption of magnesium. And any bowel troubles or absorption issues. So if you have absorption issues, especially something like celiac or Crohn's, then it will be hard for you to get magnesium. And if you are prone to diarrhea, a lot of that magnesium will dispel from your body. And lastly, I have bolded stress, because stress is present in most people's lives. We just live a high pace lifestyle, and stress depletes magnesium. So stress, this is direct quote from a study: stress could increase magnesium loss, causing a deficiency. And in turn, magnesium deficiency could enhance the body's susceptibility to stress, resulting in a magnesium and stress vicious cycle. So when we're stressed, our body uses more magnesium, but when we become magnesium deficient, it's hard for us to handle stress. So the magnesium stress connection is very real and very important to look at, because we get on this hamster wheel where we can't get off of. And then we start to have other symptoms like poor sleep, poor immune health, muscle cramps, restless legs. Lots of different things can happen in our body, and then we are left at a weaker point, because we are not able to keep up on those 1,000 enzymatic processes that our body needs magnesium for. So how can we increase magnesium levels? Well, plain and simple, a whole foods diet will be rich in magnesium. So specific foods like nuts and seeds, legumes, whole grains, dairy, leafy greens, dark chocolate, figs, avocados, bananas, and potatoes are just a few of the foods that are high in magnesium. But just to reiterate, when it comes to things like nuts and seeds, legumes, whole grains, leafy greens, we want to look at how we are getting these in our diet and how we are preparing them in order to maximize our magnesium absorption from these. Now, unfortunately, again, because of our high-paced lifestyle, a lot of people lack the time to properly prepare these foods, and a lot of people are just always in a hurry. So we come home from work and we throw on the rice. We don't necessarily take the time to soak it or think ahead. And on top of that, a lot of people lack the knowledge. If you look at the way our ancestors prepared food, even if you looked at the way your grandmother prepared food versus how we prepare it today, you would probably notice a marked difference. And some of these ancient ways of preparing food are very important because they help us maximize our nutrient levels. So bottom line, the best way to ensure adequate magnesium levels is through supplementation. It is important to eat a whole foods diet, and I certainly would never suggest otherwise. However, because of our high-paced lifestyle, because magnesium is not in food as much anymore, and because magnesium is such a necessary supplement or mineral for our body, it is imperative that we make sure we're getting enough. And with estimates of 80% of the population being deficient in magnesium, it's a telltale sign that we all need to be supplementing, or most of us need to be supplementing with magnesium. And there have been a lot of research studies done on magnesium supplementation, not just magnesium, but magnesium supplementation. So a few of those studies, they show that, of course, we talked about the tissue damage. So if you supplement with magnesium, then your body is less susceptible to damage from viruses. Your organs are less susceptible to damage of viruses. We talked about how there was a study done on people who had immune deficiencies and animals, and when they supplemented with magnesium, those immune deficiencies went away. There are studies that show that magnesium activates for vitamin D for use in the body, and there are studies that show that magnesium supplementation reduces our stress. It aids in our sleep, it gets us into a deeper sleep, and it even helps with depressive symptoms. There are also studies to show how magnesium improves our focus when we supplement with it. So again, just to reiterate, it's very important to get magnesium in food, but because it's so difficult to get in food, there have been a lot of research studies done on the effects of magnesium supplementation. And the bottom line is magnesium supplementation always comes with positive results. So something that's important to note is that not all magnesium is created equally. And this is something that some of you know. Some of you are very familiar with our flagship product, Mag 365. So this product is 2 ingredients. It's magnesium carbonate plus citric acid. And when you combine this in the right formulation with water, it activates into ionic magnesium citrate. And this makes it highly bioavailable to the body. So this is very different than just getting the magnesium citrate salt, which would have a lot lower bioavailability than the ionic magnesium citrate. So if we were to take this Mag 365 powder and put it in a capsule without activating it with water and thus creating an ionic supplement, it would not be as well absorbed by the body. We have a lot of testimonials about people loving this product and noticing the benefits. And one of my favorite testimonials is somebody said, I was always told that I need magnesium, but it never worked for me. Until I tried Mag 365, it took away my magnesium deficiency symptoms. So it turns out I did need magnesium, but I was just taking the wrong forms or the wrong brand. So this is an excellent straight up magnesium powder available in natural lemon and passion fruit flavor. If you prefer a capsule, we have Prismag Pure Magnesium Bisglycinate. We are very proud that this won Best Sleep Aid in the Rude Health Platinum Lockdown Reader's Choice Awards. So this was the first lockdown of the pandemic when everybody was stressed. Nobody really knew what this pandemic was going to look like. And this product was able to help a lot of people sleep because it helped manage their stress. So in this product, we have no binders, fillers, or excipients. We use a vegan Pullulan capsule, as it's the most pure capsule on the market that we could find. And this contains 1 magnesium molecule attached to 2 glycine molecules. The reason why we have this as a magnesium bisglycinate and not as our magnesium citrate is, again, to reiterate, you cannot put magnesium citrate into a capsule and have it be well absorbed because it would not be ionic. So the next best absorbed form that we could put in a capsule was magnesium bisglycinate. So because these glycine molecules are very small, magnesium attached to them, and then glycine gets absorbed into the cells of the body, and magnesium goes along for the ride, and it creates a very nice sleep stress magnesium supplement that's easy to take. And lastly, our newest product, Vitamin D Plus, puts some of these ingredients together for you so that you don't have to open several pill bottles a day. So as mentioned before, if you're supplementing with vitamin D, you need magnesium in order to activate it for use in your body. And in this one, we combine vitamin D with that magnesium. We also add vitamin K2, as vitamin K2 is very important for helping vitamin D go into the right place and absorption of calcium into your bones rather than leaving it in your bloodstream, and some B12 for extra immune and energy support. So it is totally fine if you take your vitamin D and vitamin K and then magnesium on the side. And remember, a general rule of thumb is 1,000 units of vitamin D for 100 milligrams of magnesium to activate it. And but if you prefer to take something altogether, or you have loved ones that don't take a lot of supplements, but they want to make sure that they have a good, strong immune system this season, then we highly recommend this supplement that puts everything together. And just to say also there is a lot of school of thought that we need a lot of vitamin D, 5,000 units, 10,000 units, and that actually is not true. Research is showing that you don't need high amounts of vitamin D, you just need the right things to take with it. So if you are taking the right cofactors with your vitamin D, you don't need high amounts, you just need the proper amounts to keep your immune system strong. So to reiterate a summary, magnesium strengthens your overall immune system because it's an immune system modulator. It can help reduce stress and anxiety, sorry for the typo, because it helps your nervous system, and stress and anxiety will affect your immune system. Magnesium can aid in restful sleep, which again, your immune system really needs a good night's sleep, as studies prove that you are more susceptible to getting a virus, and it's harder to get over a virus if you are not well rested or don't get enough sleep at night. Magnesium promotes better lung health because it helps open our airways. Magnesium activates vitamin D to make it available to the immune system. So if you're taking vitamin D without magnesium, you might not be getting the benefits of it. Magnesium protects organs and tissues from damage caused by viruses, which is very important, especially during today's pandemic landscape. So if you'd like a copy of this presentation or any of the references used, please email us at info@itlhealth.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me there and I can help answer any of them. If you're looking at what product is best for you or you're unsure, don't hesitate to drop us a line and we can help you out. So we have a product line of pure magnesium and some combinations of magnesium with other cofactors to help your immune system, your bones, your hormones, and your heart. So please have a look and see if there's anything that you think could benefit you. And on that note, I just want to open it up to any questions. Whoops, I lost you guys now. If anybody has any questions, I do believe the chat is available for anybody to post a question in there. And if not, I'll just keep talking, which isn't very hard for me when it comes to magnesium because I love this topic. And just to reiterate for the latecomers, magnesium is very foundational to our immune system. If we are not supplementing with magnesium or do not have adequate magnesium levels, our immune system cannot function as well. And it is not the type of nutrient for our immune system that we take in high doses when we feel something coming on. It is something we want to keep in a constant stream, in a constant dose into our system. Okay, I'm seeing some stuff, but it's not questions. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so just to reiterate, cold and flu season is basically upon us. So do your immune system a favor and make sure that it gets adequate magnesium. And do we have to take magnesium with vitamin D at the same time or at a different time the same day? Great question. It can be taken different times during the day. So basically magnesium stays in your body for, we're going to say, roughly 24 hours. So magnesium doesn't store in your body like vitamin D would. Vitamin D is fat soluble, so it will store in your fat cells. Magnesium is used by your body every day. So you don't need to take it at the same time, but you would want to make sure that you do get magnesium that day that you take vitamin D in order to activate it for use. And on that note too, I should have mentioned in the webinar that the great thing about magnesium is that because your body will dispel what it doesn't use, it does not store, you can play around with how much your body needs. And you will notice at different times in your life, depending on your stress levels, what might be going on in your immune system and your life's activities, you can take more magnesium. Unless you have a kidney disorder, because kidneys filter magnesium. As long as you don't have a kidney disorder, you can take magnesium to bowel tolerance, and that's where the powder becomes really nice because you can gradually increase your dose until your bowels are comfortably loose, and that's the way you know that you have the right amount of magnesium for what your body needs at that time. So again, some people, you know, the RDA of magnesium is around 300 to 400 depending on your size and your gender. But some people need more when they're going through stressful times, or, you know, let's say they're encountering a virus or an immune system, or exercising a lot, training for a marathon or something like that. Pins and needles in the hands and feet. it's not, I can't say guaranteed this would help you, but it's very likely that it would help you because that is a symptom of nervous system health, and magnesium is extremely important for the nervous system. So I would highly recommend trying this product or the Prismag capsules, whatever you're more comfortable with, to help that symptom, as it's a very important nervous system report. And I see somebody else typing a question, so I'll just wait a second. So just to remind everybody, you can play around with your magnesium dosage because it also depends on how much magnesium you're getting in your diet. And everybody would be getting different amounts. And sometimes you get different amounts in a day. Sometimes if you know you had a day where you didn't eat healthy, or you were on the road and you were eating, more fast food or something, you can up your magnesium intake a little bit because you wouldn't have really got any from the food that you eat that day. So it's very important to get that right dosage, and your bowels will let you know. So start small, don't take too much. So does MEG 365 cause diarrhea? It does not. If you are very sensitive if you have a very sensitive stomach and digestive system, it is more likely to cause stomach upset than the capsules would, but it would only cause diarrhea, or it would most likely only cause diarrhea if you take way too much. So some people use it for constipation because that actually is a sign of magnesium deficiency as well. So if you take too much, it will cause diarrhea, but it doesn't in and of itself cause diarrhea unless you have a very, very sensitive system. It helps draw water to your bowels. It helps loosen your bowels, and it helps relax your bowels because it helps muscles, and your bowel is a muscle. So it will help your muscles relax, including your bowels. So if you're worried about it causing diarrhea, I would say just start small with a half a teaspoon and gradually work your way up. Or if you have a very sensitive system, then we recommend getting the Prismag magnesium bisglycinate capsules, because as I mentioned before, they're absorbed in the top of your small intestine right into those cells. So they don't even have to go through your digestive system. So they're very, very unlikely to cause digestive upset. And I think we have one more question coming. And I think that's all we have time for, as I notice it has been a half an hour, but if there's anybody else, go ahead. Suffers from restless legs. Highly, highly recommend MEG 365 for restless legs. It has helped countless people with this. So I would highly recommend this. Have your husband start with a teaspoon, but he would probably work his dosage up to 2 or 3 teaspoons a day, but just start with a teaspoon, as you just want to make sure that his system can absorb it all. And he will thank you very much, because restless legs are awful. You're welcome for the webinar. Thank you. If you're suffering from the flu, does magnesium have a quick or delayed? So magnesium, a quick or delayed action. Magnesium is a quick action because our body uses it right away. Now, again, if you take too much, it will dispel through your bowels. So if you have the flu, you don't want to, like something like vitamin C, you can say, oh, I have the flu, I can take a whole bunch. You don't want to do that with magnesium because it won't be able to absorb it all at once. And magnesium helps your immune system, but it's not an antioxidant like vitamin C where it might all go to use on the virus. So again, really important that you just keep magnesium constantly in your body through cold and flu cold and flu season, just to help any viruses that you encounter. If you do get a flu, you can take a little bit more, but it wouldn't benefit you to take a whole bunch because your immune system wouldn't be able to absorb it all at once anyway. And Audrey, you're very welcome. As you can tell, I love talking about magnesium, so thank you all for joining us. And I do see one more question, so we'll do another question before we all log off. With vitamin D, you said with vitamin D, sorry, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Do you mean with vitamin D you can take more for the immune system? And both the vitamin D and vitamin C, you can take more when you're encountering a cold or virus. So they're both good for boosting the immune system, and they are both something that could benefit at that time from an extra dose. But as mentioned, magnesium, you don't need too much of an extra dose when you're sick. You just need to keep getting it in your body to make sure your immune system is functioning properly, because if you do take a big dose, it will probably just cause loose stools. But do take a little bit of extra, especially if you're taking vitamin D. So if you say, I'm sick, I'm going to take 5,000 units of vitamin D today, then you do want to take that 500 milligrams of magnesium to go alongside with that. But I would say even if you're sick, you know, we recommend 1,000, 2,000 units of vitamin D every day. If you're sick, you can double that, but you don't need these crazy high dosages that have been recommended in the past. That was a little bit misinformation because people were seeing high amounts of vitamin D in the body, and then the levels weren't going up, but it's because the vitamin D wasn't being activated by the magnesium or the K2. So it's more about the cofactors of vitamin D. Instead of these high amounts of vitamin D, you just need the right things to take with the vitamin D. Okay, I'll take one last question before we log off. Oh, awesome. Glad that you found good stuff. And we do have a lemon flavored Meg 365, which is my favorite flavor. So you're very welcome. Thank you very much for your questions. Thanks for your engagement. Just a reminder, info@ITL Health. I'll put it in the chat window. If you have any questions or want any information about the recording, we do have a website, itlhealth.com. We have a warehouse in Ireland, in the UK, in Canada, and America. So if you order from any of those places, it will be very seamless. We do offer free shipping above $35 or pounds or euros, whatever region you're in. So please check us out. We have lots of articles to teach you more about magnesium. And if you follow us on social media or stay subscribed to our newsletters, we will give you more information about when we discuss magnesium on webinars or on social media platforms. Thank you so much for listening. Wherever you are in the world, have a great afternoon, have a great evening, and we look forward to being able to educate you more about magnesium in the future. And thank you again for your time today. Whenever I see the chat window, I feel like I can't leave. Okay, Ryan and Audrey, thank you so much. You guys are very welcome, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you. Have a great day.